Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering Bitcoin by zooming out and having a look at the bigger picture, as well as having a shorter picture in terms of what's going to be happening in the next few days and perhaps in the next couple of weeks. I'll also be covering an altcoin called Solana, which I've had a lot of requests for. So I thought I'd give people an insight into exactly what's happening. I'm not familiar really with Solana, but I'll have a look at the charts and bring some insight into exactly what could be happening with Solana and where it could be heading in the next few weeks and months. Before I begin, the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in this video and all my videos are for educational purposes only, and nothing in the video should be taken as financial advice. I'm not anybody's financial advisor, so please do your wider research before you take any big investment decisions. So with that out of the way, I'm going to start off with this. Yes, the time is running out, but what is it running out for? Yes, you've guessed it, I'm sure. The time is running out for this buy signal here on the hash ribbons. The current price for Bitcoin is 43,308 as I'm making this video. As we've seen for the many last videos, we've been mentioning the buy signal here for Bitcoin, and this was hit at this point here. So this is the lowest point that this signal is saying that we shouldn't go below according to its 12-year record. In the last 12 years, we've had 13 of these blue signals here, so about once a year approximately. And every time we hit these blue dots, we never go below this line ever again. Check this one here as well. We never go below these lines. And this one here now, we have the 13th one, and this is hovering just around the 43,800 to 44,000. And the question is, tonight we have the candle closing for the week at 1 o'clock GMT UK time. Are we going to get above that and close above the 43,800 or not? If you check some of these, you'll see that some of them have wicked during the week to below those levels of the blue signal buy dots. However, by the end of the week, they've always closed above the blue signal price level. So the question is, will we do that here as well? Obviously, only time will tell tonight. We've already been as low as around the $40,000 mark this week. And at times it looked like we weren't going to do it. But in the last few hours, the prices started to move back up again. So it may well be that we close above the $43,800 mark to safeguard the buy signal record. Obviously, I'm not counting this COVID-19 special event that occurred after this blue signal here, because then it did close below that, of course, but that was a one-off event and it's not really credible to count that. So let's wait and see what happens tonight. It could prove quite nerve-wracking. So that brings us nicely to this weekly chart that we've been looking at for the last few weeks. And as we said when we were over here, that this line is being created, and that when we come back to this line again, at this level here, at the $52,000, $53,000 mark, that we more than likely will get a rejection here, which is exactly what we did here. The question is, where do we go from where we are currently? Now, you may have noticed that this particular pattern represents what I've mentioned in the past called a bump and run pattern. Just notice this very, very carefully. We've got a lead-in phase of these three resistance points here, and then we've got a fourth one over here. And then we've got this U-shaped pattern here, which in a way represents like a cup and handle, because you've got this, and this can be the handle before we move up. However, this pattern is actually called a specific name, which is called a bump and run. If you look at this here, this is what I mean. We have a lead-in phase. This is these 3 points here. Then we have this fourth point. So this is what they call the lead-in phase. And then we have this bump phase where the price goes down below and then slowly makes its way up towards this line again. But notice carefully, when we do come up to this line here, it looks with a high degree of probability that we will probably get rejected, but not to the extent of obviously here. This is to catch people out who think that the market is ready to short over here. But it basically has a very short correction, and then it comes back, retests it before we move to the upside here. So this is what I'm expecting, that the next time we come up to this line here, yes, we may have a little short correction here, but that is a prelude to a big run up from this line here, this trend line. And this is what I would be expecting. So this is the lead-in phase. This is the bump phase. Then when we come up to that, there's a little bit of a rejection here before we break out. And look at this. More than likely, I would be expecting a retesting of this trend line here before we go back and test newer higher levels up here, which is called the uphill run phase. So this is what they call a bump and run reversal pattern. So be aware of that. We've had this many, many times in the past, and they do play out very successfully. If we zoom out, we can see that a similar pattern to this had developed over here. So we had this lead-in phase here. This is going back to October 2018, after we had this end of the previous bull market at 20,000. We had this lead-in phase, we had the bump phase, and here there was no rejection. So this is why we've got to be very, very careful here. And this is what happened. We went to make fresh highs from these levels here. What I would be expecting from this pattern is to make its way towards this level here. And there is a 50-50 chance that we're going to get rejected at this point, but come back and retest it very quickly. And the chances are we're going to come back and retest this level here at the 48,800 mark, which we've just made. So we would test that level, come back and retest this trend line before breaking out from here, and then moving on to the next neckline, which is here at $53,000 mark. So this is what I'm expecting the breakout to happen here. So just to be clear, the way the pattern is developing looks like it is a bump and run pattern. So we're making our way close to this trend line here again, and the chances are somewhere along here we're going to come back and retest this 48,800. Might be just on the trend line here in the next few weeks or next few days. Anything can happen with Bitcoin. And then the next line after that will be the $52,000, $53,000 mark before we start to test these levels on the left hand side here around 58, 59,000 and the $64,000 mark here. And I'd already marked these out in the last few videos here with this green band at the $58,000, $59,000 mark and the $61,000, $62,000 mark here, and then the 64,000. So these are the levels we should be keeping our focus on for the next few weeks. But certainly we have to get up to this trend line and break it before we can get to these levels here. If we have a look at the RSI, we can see that there's a bearish signal that's just actually hit. And that is that we've now gone below the 50%. This is the dotted line at the 50% level. We've just crept below the 50 level here. Of course, if the price of Bitcoin closes a little bit higher, this could be pushed back up again. But certainly, this is something I noticed today. We could close below the 50. That would be a bearish sign. But obviously, we need to look at a confluence of indicators. But it is important to point out, though, that the RSI is just turning into a bearish territory now. If we have a look at the VPVR, which is the volume profile range, and that is that it tells us a little story that where there's been a lot of volume, i.e. where there's been a lot of interest in the Bitcoin price, this is what's been creating the support and the resistances here. So we came up to this point here, as you can see, with this resistance. Then we came and rested at this level here, at the $40,000 mark here. So this gap here was the one that was always going to be filled by the price action in the last few weeks. And that's what we've got. So what we've got to do is get above this level here. This is the $48,000, $49,000 mark before we see this gap here. So we should be good to go after that although we will have a little break at the $53,000 mark here, which corresponds to this level here. And of course, then it's this level here at the $57,000, $58,000, $59,000 mark, which corresponds to this resistance points here, which correspond to these resistance points here. If we have a look at the 21 weekly exponential moving average, and in the last update that I did, I was saying that we may well get a bounce off this level here, and at that point this red candle was quite way down here, and I said that we may well get a long wick and close above this by Sunday evening. So we are moving towards that now. So it's 50-50 whether it's going to close above the 21 weekly exponential moving average. My expectation is that it will close above this yellow line here, and that way the hash ribbons will also be intact, at least for another week anyway. So currently we're very, very close, as you can see by this candle here. A quick look at the daily pivots, which have proven quite accurate in predicting the price range that we've had over the last few weeks. So we got rejected at this $53,000 mark here, and it came back to these levels on the pivot line here at around about the $44,000, $45,000 mark. Once we went through this level here, we found support on the S1 line here, which I mentioned in the update a few days ago. As you can see, it found support right on this line here. And as I mentioned in the video, we may be creating a W pattern, a double bottom pattern here. So I would be expecting the price to be now moving to the upside from these levels where we are. And as this line is showing, the pivot line, that when we do come up to this line, we may find some resistance at this neckline. Because if you look left here, it's had resistance there and here as well. So this is around the $44,000, $45,000 mark here. So be prepared for a little bit of a resistance at the $44,000, $45,000 juncture here. If we have a look at the weekly log growth curve lines here, we can see quite clearly that we're being supported on this line here. We found support on this line here at this point, which is currently at around about the $43,000 mark. It's very important we hold on to that, because if we do break this, which I'm not expecting by the way, but when we do break it like we did here, we tend to go to the next level. And that currently would be around about the $33,000 mark, which I'm not expecting because there isn't anything here that tells me that. By which I mean that if you look at the wicks here, whenever you see long wicks at the bottom, they're telling you a story that there is a rejection, a very strong rejection here of lower prices. So when we came to this level, the price was moved very swiftly back up, meaning that there's a lot of buyers waiting to buy up anything that goes lower to this level here. And same with this line here, it was all bought up very, very quickly. So we can see there's a lot of momentum at these levels down here. So I'm not expecting the price to fall. Of course, the possibility is there, but the probability would be very low looking at these lines here. Similar to what we had here. If you look at these lines here, all these wicks all along here, they're telling you a story that at these levels, at these prices, there's a huge demand with a lot of buyers wanting to buy up each time we get to these levels here. So currently this wick would be telling me that we are going to be more than likely going to be supported at this level when this wick closes tonight. Okay, so let's do a breakdown now on a shorter term time scale of what's happening here. So this yellow line is the resistant line on that weekly chart I've just shown you. And this is where we got rejected here at the $52,000 mark. Since then, we've been making this red channel here. So if you look at this channel, we've been making this channel here, and we've been respecting the Fibonacci retracement of the 61.8 along this channel that we've got. So if we take the Fibonacci retracement from here to this bottom at this point, you can see that it didn't quite make the 61.8, but this is where I was expecting the $49,000 mark rejection here, but the correction came just underneath it at 48,800. So after this rejection here at 48,800, if we look at the Fibonacci retracement to have a look at the levels where it would come back up to, if we have a closer look, you can see that again, it just came just up to the 61.8, but not quite. So it's been playing around. So once again, it was nearly there, but not quite. And if we zoom in and have a look at from this point here, when it came back down, this time we did move up to the 61.8 before having a little bit of a correction there. So what we have in this red channel is basically a bear flag where we're making the lower highs here, and maybe one over here soon, and the lower lows here. Do we have another leg to go down to this 61.8 level here? This is the one I drew last time in the last video at 38,000. That possibly there is a leg down here, but I would have expected it to have gone to this level before today if it was going to go. So I'm now not expecting it to go down to the $38,000 mark. I'm expecting it to go to these levels here before breaking out. And these are the levels at these white lines that we could be expecting to go. So once we do break this red channel, the first point of resistance is going to be at this $45,900, $46,000 mark, because if you look left here, you can see a lot of resistance here, a lot of support here, resistance here, and resistance and support here. So this is a very critical line when we come up to it at this point. And once we negotiate that, then the next line is going to be 47,300, where again, if you look left, you can see quite a lot of resistance and support. And the one after that is the one where we got rejected here at 48.8. I've got the line at 49,000 because that's what I thought the price here was going to come up to. But we can now lower that down to the $48,000 mark to incorporate this rejection here. And once we negotiate that, that's when we come up to this bump and run break here. But I'd be expecting it to come back down, retesting this level here before we break out. And this level here is 52.53 is going to be the next level after when we cross this yellow line. So these are the various levels that you're going to meet and encounter as the price for Bitcoin starts to move into different gears in the next few days, possibly in the next couple of weeks. And if we zoom in a little bit more further, have a look at the current candle. We saw this big green candle in the last few hours, and look where it came up to, right up to the 61.8. If we look left and take the measurement from here, the previous high to the previous low, you can see that we're finding resistance at the 61.8 here. So we should get past that very shortly, but this is exactly why it respects this. We must keep an eye on the 61.8 levels, as they do provide a very good, accurate picture of where Bitcoin is going to be going down to and up to in the short term, as well as the long term. Okay, so let's wait and see what happens with Bitcoin. Will we cross the hash ribbon cutoff line at 43,800 tonight? Only time will tell, and we'll review that in the next video. But certainly in the short term, I'm expecting the price to be moving towards this red channel with the various price levels that I've shown you as resistance along the way, before we eventually break this yellow line here on this bump and run pattern that we're seeing developing on this weekly chart. If you found value in this analysis, then please remember to like and subscribe if you're new, and to turn on the notification bell. Okay, so let's move on to Solana, which was a requested altcoin that I've had for a few weeks now by various people. So if we start off by looking at the weekly chart, we can see that there are key levels of resistance and support being established on this chart. So for instance, if we start off here, as we've come up here, we've got rejected at this level down to this level here. So this is a key level of resistance. So what we do is we take the level from the bodies of the candle to the wicks, and you draw in your levels here. So you'll find that these levels, when the price starts coming down during the bear market, these are going to prove extremely essential and important and relevant for the price to find support and even resistance along the downturn. So once we got past this level here, you can see that we came up to this level and then got rejected. So this now represents another level of resistance, which will prove to be a support over here. So we mark this level as well as a very important level. From the bodies of the candle to the wicks, we take it to the right hand side there. So now we've got two levels of key resistance and support on this chart. You're probably wondering why I've got this green bar here, because when I had a look at this, I did the 61.8 on this here, from this point here, and that bar, that green bar, was the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement level. So in this current price, I was expecting it to come all the way down here before bouncing to go back up to the upside. However, as you can see, it's actually come and rested on the 50% level here. So this is a very good point to bounce from. But if we did have further weakness in the Bitcoin chart, you know which level Solana is going to come back down to. It will be back to this level here at $95 mark, based on the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement level. But the important range to draw here is this rejection here. So the price came up to this level, and when we broke that, we found rejection at these points here. So this now becomes a very strong key level of resistance and support for the future. So we draw that in from the body of the candle to the wick, taking it to the right hand side here. So what I would be looking for if I was wanting to invest into Solana would be to wait until we get back up to this level here. And once we break out with a weekly close above this level here, just like this candle was, weekly close above this level here, and further back, this candle close above this level here, look what happened. Once this closed here, we had a big rise to the upside. Similarly here, once we had this close above the previous high, we went on another tear up here. So what do you think would happen when we have a similar candle here? So the chart is saying quite clearly, this is the direction I'm going to go to once we close above the level up here on a weekly time frame. So why is it important to put these levels of resistance and support on your chart? Well, the important reason why is that whenever we top out with Bitcoin in the next few months, when the price comes back down, these are the levels where you're going to find support. And when we break them, we're going to be going to the next levels here, etc. So in the bear market, it may well be that we go from wherever it tops out here to these levels down here. And these will be able to help you to trade down in a profitable way. So where can we expect Solana to go in the future? So that's the big question people will be asking. Okay, we're currently at around about the 136 mark. So we've been as high as 212 plus here. Where can it go in the future? For that, we need to do a Fibonacci extension tool. If we take it from this last low here to this high point that we've just reached, we can see some of the levels. The first level I'd be looking for here would be the 100% level here. And that would be at around $309. So I would expect with a very high degree of probability that when the price starts moving up above this previous high here, 1212, 1216, whatever it is, I would be looking at this level as a point of resistance here. Yes, you'll get a few resistances along the way, but the 1.0 level here, just like the 61.8 is extremely common on the Fibonacci retracement levels, on the Fibonacci extension, when you're looking at the levels higher than where we are currently, then this one proves to be generally a very good yardstick to be taking profits. So this is where you'd be looking to take profits here. And then the next level after that would be the 431. So if you want to mark this, if you do have Solana, and if I had Solana, these are the areas I would be marking for profit taking before you get a rejection at these levels. So the next one would be obviously here at the 2 times 61.8 at 627 before going to the next level. So anywhere along this line, Obviously, if Bitcoin tops out and we have a blow off top anywhere up here in the next few months, then this will come back to the various levels of support that we've had along the way, which were resistance points here. So since Bitcoin took off around about October time, this asset Solana has actually increased by 13,000%. That's 131 times its price back in October last year. Now that is a rapid rise. And if that continues, then we're looking at a very high price up here. But please remember, the higher and quicker they go, the harder they're going to fall. So if you're holding these, be aware of where Bitcoin tops off, because when Bitcoin tops off, assets like Solana will be coming down much harder and faster than Bitcoin. Okay, so I hope that's helped. I'm sorry I won't have any time to do a wisdom bite today, so we'll leave it there. Thank you once again for watching. And if you found value in this video with the technical analysis on Bitcoin and Solana, then please do remember to like. And if you haven't already subscribed, then I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that whenever I do the videos, then you've always got them in your recommended box. And if you have any comments, questions or suggestions, then leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.